Zatbal furchiumbaras buams and prams. The forest was silent, a heavy silence that cut like a knife. Linda smelled blood, a metallic scent that filled her with fear and a strange excitement. Jason the vampire was injured, his eyes gleaming with a pain that transcended the physical. A roar echoed through the trees, the roar of a huge, hungry creature. Would it be a wolf? Or something far worse? Jason whispered to Linda, his voice hoarse. They're coming, and this time, I don't know if we'll survive. What awaited them in the shadows of that dark and deadly night? The forest was a labyrinth of shadows, where each tree seemed a lurking monster. The air, damp and cold, carried the acrid smell of blood, mixed with the sweet, earthy scent of wet earth. Linda trembled, not only from the cold that pierced her bones, but from the fear that froze her blood. Beside her, Jason, the vampire, leaned against a towering tree, a stream of blood running down his arm. He seemed so fragile, so human, in this moment of vulnerability, but his eyes, even wounded, shone with a supernatural strength, an intense gleam that reminded her of the powerful creature he truly was. A low sound, seeming to come from the depths of the earth, began to vibrate in the air. It was a deep, menacing sound, like the rumble of a sleeping giant about to awaken. Linda squeezed Jason's hand, her slender fingers meeting the vampire's cool, smooth skin. His skin felt so strange under her fingers, so different from her own. "They're coming," Jason whispered, his voice so hoarse it was barely audible. His face was pale, but his eyes shone with a fierce determination. He didn't want her to see his fear, didn't want her to doubt him. But the fear was there, latent, hidden in every accelerated beat of his heart. Suddenly the bushes moved. Shadows stirred, twisted, transforming into monstrous shapes. Giant wolves with red eyes of fury emerged from the darkness, their sharp teeth like gleaming knives. There were many, more than Linda had ever imagined, and they came hungry, with an insatiable thirst for blood. The first wolf lunged, leaping with impressive force. Jason reacted instantly, his movements swift and precise despite the wound on his arm. He defended himself with an agility that surprised Linda, his teeth gleaming in the moonlight. The fight was brutal, a deadly dance between the creature of the night and the monsters of the forest. Jason fought with the strength of a lion, dodging attacks with supernatural dexterity. But the wolves were many, and the wound on his arm bled more and more. Linda watched the fight with wide eyes, her heart pounding in her chest. She wanted to help, but didn't know how. She wasn't a warrior like her ancestors, the werewolf women who protected the forest. She had never connected with her powers, with the ancestral strength that ran through her veins. But in that moment, sensing the imminent danger, she felt something different, an awakening, a silent call from her ancestors. A wolf, larger and fiercer than the others, lunged at Linda. Its eyes gleamed with cold cruelty, and it roared, about to attack her. Jason, sensing the danger, threw himself in front of her, receiving the wolf's attack. Linda screamed, the sound of her cry echoing through the dark forest. She felt a wave of pain wash over her. Jason's pain, his fear, his anguish. It was as if the connection between them strengthened in the face of danger. Then, something unexpected happened. A warm energy, like a ray of sun piercing the shadows, flowed through Linda's body. She felt a powerful force, an ancestral energy pulsing within her. The pain transformed into power, the fear into courage. She roared, a deep, wild roar that echoed through the forest like thunder. The air around her glowed, and the wolf that had attacked Jason recoiled, retreating. Linda had awakened her powers, the indomitable strength of her ancestors. The other wolves stopped, their eyes wide with shock. They sensed the power emanating from her, the ancestral magic flowing through her veins. Linda felt an unknown power, a power greater than she had ever imagined. And at the same time, she felt Jason's presence, his hand on her arm, transmitting a strength that surpassed any other. Their love was their strength. In the midst of battle, love became the only real weapon. But the night was long, and the fight was far from over. The supernatural force of her awakening wasn't guaranteed, and the wolves' next attack could be fatal. The forest, once a somber setting, was now a bloody battleground. The wolves, imposing and ferocious creatures, surrounded Jason and Linda, their red eyes gleaming like incandescent embers. Jason, despite the deep wound on his arm, fought with the fury of a fallen angel. his movements swift and precise, like those of an experienced dancer in the dance of death. Each movement was a defiance of the darkness that surrounded them, each blow a demonstration of the supernatural strength that made him different, an immortal vampire. But the number of wolves was overwhelming, a tide of fury and sharp teeth ready to swallow them whole. With each passing moment, the possibility of defeat became more real, more terrifying. Linda, still reeling from the sudden awakening of her ancestral powers, felt a mixture of fear and excitement coursing through her veins. The power that had flooded her was something new, something mysterious, and at the same time, profoundly familiar, like a distant echo of a memory dormant in her blood. She watched Jason fight, her heart constricted in a mixture of admiration and terror. He was so strong, so imposing amidst the chaos, but even he seemed tired, his defenses faltering with each passing moment. A huge wolf, with a black mane and teeth like daggers, leaped towards Linda, its eyes fixed on her throat. Instinct made her close her eyes, expecting the worst, feeling the creature's fetid breath on her face. But the attack never came. Jason, with a superhuman effort, intercepted the wolf, receiving the blow in her place. A cry of pain and despair escaped Linda's lips. A scream ripped through the air, accompanied by Jason's roar of pain. It was in this moment of despair that the ancestral strength in Linda manifested itself with all its intensity. It wasn't just a roar, like before. It was a wave of energy, an explosion of light and power radiating from her, engulfing Jason and repelling the wolves as if they were leaves in the wind. The forest trembled, the trees swayed, and an intense glow enveloped them both, protecting them amidst the chaos. Linda felt an absolute power, a deep connection with the earth, with the forest, with her warrior ancestors. She was a warrior now. She was a force of nature. The wolves, stunned by this explosion of energy, recoiled. Their eyes gleamed with disbelief and fear. They looked at each other, hesitating. Linda's power was something they couldn't comprehend, an ancestral, ancient force capable of rivaling their own wild instincts. But even with the terrified wolves, the battle was not yet over. Their strength seemed to be waning. Meanwhile, Jason, leaning against a tree, breathed heavily, blood flowing freely from his wound, but his eyes shone with admiration and love for Linda. He watched her, mesmerized, as she radiated this unknown power. He had never seen anything so magnificent. He felt the bond that united them, an invisible but unbreakable force that connected them in this deadly dance. It was stronger than the wolves' thirst for blood, stronger than the darkness of the forest. It was love. The fight was not only for survival, but for the affirmation of a love that seemed to defy fate. A love that overcame the barriers between humans, vampires, and werewolves. A love that grew with each roar, each blow, each drop of blood spilled. But even with love strengthening them, the battle was not yet won. The wolves, despite their fear, still watched and planned their next attack. The tension hung in the air. The silence between attacks was heavy as the approaching fight. The darkness of the forest seemed to wait patiently, ready to swallow Jason and Linda again, unless their love was stronger than any supernatural force. The forest was silent, a heavy, tense silence that followed Linda's explosion of power. The air, previously charged with violence, now emanated a strange calm, a precarious truce between the fury of the wolves and the awakening of Linda's ancestral strength. Jason, leaning against a tree, breathed with difficulty, the wound on his arm throbbing like a macabre drum. The blood, still flowing, stained the dark earth, but his eyes, despite the pain, shone with a mixture of admiration and unconditional love for Linda. He watched her, mesmerized. Linda, her body panting, her breathing irregular, radiated an aura of undeniable power. Her eyes, once brown and docile, shone with a golden luminescence. Her black hair seemed to vibrate with the energy that invaded her. It was as if an ancestral goddess had been reborn in her body, bringing with her the indomitable strength of her ancestors. The silence was broken by a low growl coming from the depths of the forest. The wolves, still frightened, were recovering, planning a new attack. Their red eyes gleamed with a mixture of fear and insatiable thirst. They wouldn't give up so easily. The fight, even after Linda's overwhelming display of power, was far from over. Jason, gathering the little strength he had left, got up with difficulty. The wound throbbed. Weakness invaded him, But his love for Linda was a supernatural fuel, giving him strength to face the fury of the forest once more. He reached out to Linda, his cold fingers meeting her warm, vibrant skin. An intense gaze, full of love and determination, passed between them, sealing the alliance that transcended the barriers of species. The wolves advanced. A deafening roar broke the truce, and the forest once again became a bloody battleground. But this time, the fight was different. Linda, guided by her ancestral strength, fought alongside Jason, her movements agile and precise, her supernatural strength surprising. She moved with the grace and fury of a panther, dodging attacks, counterattacking with incredible speed. Her energy, once latent, now flowed freely, protecting them incredibly. Jason, despite his fragility, became a tireless warrior. He fought with the skill of a predator, using his supernatural strength to deflect the wolves' attacks and, at the same time, protecting Linda. Together, they were a hurricane of power and dexterity, a whirlwind of movement and energy that defied the darkness that surrounded them. The battle became a deadly dance, a choreography of fury and agility. Linda, the ancestral warrior, and Jason, the immortal vampire, fought with the determination of those seeking survival, but also with the love that united them. The forest, a silent witness to this deadly dance, seemed to tremble with each blow, each roar, each drop of blood spilled. The fight went on. It seemed endless. But with each movement, each defense, the love between them strengthened. Their union, the strength of their love, became more powerful than the sharp fangs of the wolves, more powerful than the darkness of the forest itself. And even exhausted, wounded, they did not let themselves be dominated by fear. Their bond was a link of strength that propelled them forward. The fight was far from over. The night was long, but their love shone brighter every second. They would fight until dawn, until the battle ended and love conquered the darkness, until fate united them forever. And in the heart of that bloody battle, their love bloomed, a beacon of hope in the darkness. Love was, after all, their only and powerful weapon. But suddenly, from the midst of the shadows emerged an imposing figure, a being that eclipsed even the giant wolves in size and power. It was a creature of darkness, with red eyes gleaming with a fury even greater than that of the wolves, teeth as sharp as obsidian blades, and claws as long and sharp as daggers. A being that emanated an aura of incalculable power, a power that even Linda's ancestral strength seemed to fear. This new mysterious being emerged without warning, elevating the battle to a completely new, more dangerous and terrifying level. A terrible roar escaped its throat, a sound that froze the blood in Jason and Linda's veins, silencing even the wolves who, instinctively, recoiled before the new threat. The creature, with a slow and deliberate gesture, pointed a claw at Linda and Jason, a gesture that heralded the arrival of a new and terrible battle. Would their love be able to overcome this new and unexpected threat? The night was just beginning, and the fate of Linda and Jason was sealed in the cold and implacable gaze of the new being. The fight for love and survival was far from over, and the episode ends with a terrifying silence, the silence that precedes the storm. What would be the power of this new creature? And would Jason and Linda's love be strong enough to defeat it and survive this new threat? The answer, only in the next episode.